Andrea Loves Everybody. I'm Andrea Gazzetta, your lovely-ish host. And this is a podcast where every week I interview someone unique and interesting about the interesting and beautiful way that they love people. This week we have Nate Hurd.
Hello.
And Nate, I like to start this podcast by telling each guest something that I love about them.
Okay.
I have to say Nate's really funny. And I always just love watching you do stand-up. It's always just a joy to see you. I enjoy having conversations with you and hanging out with you. So just all around a good person. I like you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I like you too.
So what I want to talk about today a little bit, this is a love podcast. We're going to talk about love. But I also want to talk about because you are albino.
I am indeed.
How do you talk about yourself? Do you say like you are I don't really know.
I don't know. However, I don't talk about myself being albino. I try not to that much. I'll just be like, I'm Nate. This is what up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really care. People know. I talk about it to make other people comfortable.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't really care anymore.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, something that I noticed, something that I always love is that on your Instagram, you have you telling funny jokes. You have beautiful places that I would totally want to visit. So you have been just like nature porn, like discovery porn. And then you have just beautiful albino people of like all different ethnicities and from everywhere, children, old people, just albino people being beautiful. And I was like, oh, that's really cool that you also kind of use your page as a platform to kind of spread positivity.
Well, it didn't start out like that. I got tired of people. Every time somebody sees something albino, they feel like they need to show me. And I'm like,
cool.
I'm aware, bro. Okay, yeah, like if there was a couple months back, there was a picture of, there was like an albino deer. I got 14, like people, the 14 different people sent me that picture. No heading or anything. They just sent me. They just sent me a picture.
Okay.
Like, look, and I'm like, bro, I know there's albino shit in the world, fam. I know. so I started putting albinos up just because people didn't. A lot of people don't know that there's like that albino is not like a black thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they didn't like. People were like, oh wait, there's Chinese albinos, and I was like, yeah, bro, it's not exclusive to black people.
Right, because all it is genetically you don't produce melanin.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, so I started putting them up, and then people started liking them. So
it's awesome.
I kept doing it. Yeah.
So let's talk about love. Have you ever been in love before?
I don't think so.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think so. I've been in like heavy but I don't think I've ever been in love.
Have you dated people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't think that this is a crazy thing. I've actually never. I've never had sex with somebody that I could call a girlfriend. I've dated people, but like somebody that I would be like, that's my, you know what I mean? Like that's my girlfriend. No, I've never had sex with. I had a girlfriend for 6 months, but we didn't have sex the entire time. We had sex before and we had sex after. But
wait, what? Wait, what? Please explain this to me.
So I met her and. Like within like 2 weeks, we were just vibing, and this was when I was in Hollywood and I was working, but I was like I was living in a hostel, so every like 2 weeks you have to leave the hostel for like 2 days. Like
why?
Just the specific hostel that I was at, like you had to leave that hostel for 2 days and then you could come back. So for 2 days I had to find a place to stay, and I'd known her for like a week, and she was like, "You can crash on my couch," and I was like, "All right, cool." So I crashed on her couch, and then we ended up fucking around. And then I didn't know, I was so bad at like that time of like, all right, do I say, is she my girlfriend? Like that part. So I was like, hey, you should be my girlfriend. And then she was like, all right, cool. And
how old were you?
Like 26. I was not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was like, were you 16?
No,
what is this story?
it makes it worse. I'm so sad. I'm not good at it. And then so yeah, we dated for like 6 months, and she was cheating on me the entire time. But I knew it. Like I knew.
Okay.
But I didn't do anything about it because I just, this is gonna sound really sad, and I don't want it to, but I just liked somebody there. I just thought that was, I never got to do the weird like holding hands and I thought that all that bullshit. I thought that was the funnest stuff in the world. So I was just like,
Nate, you're such a tender soul.
I am not. I'm a rabid pit bull.
You're
is what
so
I am.
sweet.
I am not. I don't want to be.
It's so cute.
God damn it! It's not, see, I don't want. I want to be an alligator. But yeah. So I would like. And
alligators need love too.
God, yeah, they do. But yeah, they do need love too. They do need love. So yeah, she started going through a really hard time because she was going to college, and it was like she was going to a college where to move on from that college, there was like a selection process, and it was really hard to. It was it
an arts-based school?
Yeah, it was an arts-based school. So there was a really.
Is it Juilliard?
No, it was.
Okay.
Thank you for. I appreciate you giving me that high class of a lady, though. I appreciate that. Thank you,
Nate. I believe that you could pull some gals.
Oh no! Make no mistake, I have game. You don't get to look like me and not have game and still get laid. That doesn't happen. That's not a thing. You better have game. Like, so my talk game is on point. I just don't know when women are flirting with me. Like, I know if they're flirting with somebody else, but I can't. I something happens, and I just assume they're just being nice people.
Well, and that is tricky because women flirting is so subtle and sometimes completely contained within our own minds. So it is
that's
very difficult.
That is the best that is the best explanation I've ever heard in my entire life.
Yeah, because like I was actually talking to Paula V the other day because like what we consider flirting is different, and she like texted me something. She's like, I was flirting with this dude, and I was like, were we? What is that? What's happening here? Because I'm looking at the screenshot, and I feel like he might not read it that way, you know, or like vice versa. Like I'll be like, I think I flirted with him. And she's like, what'd you do? And I'm like, the same thing I say to every other person. And she's like, well, that's probably not. It's probably not a good clue. It's probably not helping.
Yeah, I don't drop clues. I just like, if I like a girl, I'm just like, hey, so would you not, or like, would you like to see me naked at some point? I'll say something like that.
Yeah.
And depending on how she responds to that question, I'll just know.
Okay.
I can't be, like bluntness is, I feel like a little bit of bluntness is a little bit better. Especially, I'm old, I'm grown. You know what I mean? Like,
how old are you?
I'm 39.
Oh, so you're very, 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 very old.
Yeah. I'm ancient. I'm ancient. I
didn't think you were that old. I thought you were like 30, maybe.
Yeah, nobody does. It's because nobody has like a filmic reference on what an old albino looks like. You've never, you haven't seen enough of them. So you're just like, he could be anywhere between like 12.
I literally thought, I was like, Nate could be anywhere from like 26 to 35.
Yeah.
Like, I really don't know.
Luckily, the media, the industry thinks so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have no idea what.
Well, because you've been on some shows, like you've done some cool stuff.
Not really. I mean, like nothing. They're just like, we need an albino, and there's like 8. So
killing it.
Yeah, they're like, get him. And a lot of the times they're like, don't get him. Don't.
Have you ever had like a woman fetishize you for being albino?
No, people see that's the question. I'm glad you asked that.
I'm really curious.
Because people, for some reason, think that that's a thing. Like, they're like, dude, you should just like find a website where there's a bunch of women who just like albinos. I'm like, bruh, have you ever heard a woman, have you ever been talking to a chick and you've been like, what type of dude do you like? Albinos. There's nobody who said that. Nobody. Believe me, I've looked. Right?
Well, because like there's a lot of other, like I've interviewed other people that have like a fetishes, like people fetishize them. Like Paige Wesley, for example, has been fetishized as BBW, you know, and like stuff like that. Certain people have those things, and so it's like I don't know,
no,
maybe
there's really not, because like, and the problem is that I'm such in the, like when white girls, like when white girls say they like black guys, they're not talking about me. You know what I mean? They're just not. I know this. It's fucked up, but they're not talking about me. The problem is that when black girls say they like black guys, they're also not talking about me. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's talking about me, so I have to make the first contact.
That's interesting. Yeah. So it gives you a lot of responsibility to initiate a relationship.
Man, it does. Because I can't do the online thing.
Why?
Because albino is not very translatable in a picture. People don't know what the fuck it is. So they don't swipe right on that. So, you know.
What's the longest relationship you've been in?
That one, that's 6 months.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was when you were pretty young.
I was like 20, 26, 27.
Have you ever been in love with someone that you didn't date? Or like felt love feelings towards someone that
yeah. I mean, there's been girls that I've like really, really liked. And I mean, like, I think there's been girls that I think I could have loved.
Interesting. What do you mean? Like
if things were different, I could, like, if circumstances were different, I was like, man, I could definitely see myself with that girl forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What circumstances? Like where you were at in your life, or?
Yeah, sometimes where like I'm at in my life. A lot of times it's like where they're at. Like if they like they got a man or something like that. Or there's been times when I'm like, okay, this girl I can see like you ever met somebody that's like, okay, this person's not where they want to be in their life, but I can see that they're trying to get there.
Yeah.
But I can also see that right now they just need a friend. Mm-hmm. And if I step over that bound, I'm gonna just be the next dude trying to, you know what I mean? Like trying to get them to, you know.
And that's not what they need right now.
That's not what they need right now. You know, so sometimes I've just been like, man, all right, sometimes you just need a friend.
I would have to say huge props to you for recognizing that and not, because I think that's something that not all men can identify.
Well, I think that part of the reason that I can identify it is because, like, growing, especially in Washington, when I was in Florida, I was fine, but it was different. But when I was in Washington, I was not looked at in any kind of sexual way at all. So I was completely, either people were afraid of me or I was completely asexual.
Afraid of you?
Yeah.
Why?
Because I look like this. I've had a girl. I remember. Me and my brother had met this chick at the roller rink. We like 15. My brother's like 17 at the time. And she had a friend, and we were talking on the phone, me and the girl's friend. I forgot her name, like Karen or something like that. So me and Karen talking on the phone. We have not seen each other.
Yeah.
And she is digging on me. Like I said, I got that talk game. You know what I mean? She is like, she's calling me her would-be boyfriend. She's like, oh my God, I'm in love with you. Like, she was really feeling me. She's like, let's meet up. So we go to the mall, me, my brother, his girl, and Karen go to the mall to meet up. So we get to the mall. Now, you know, my vision's bad because of the albinism. So
yeah. You have an astigmatism, so your eyes kind of track.
Yeah, actually a nystagmus.
Nystagmus, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. People think it's the same thing. So do I. But yeah, it's so we get to the mall and and I see this girl. She takes one look at me, turns around and starts running the other direction.
Oh no!
Now I didn't. I'm also very fast. So I thought we was playing a game. So I start so I start chasing her down. Like I start running up and I catch up to her. And then I like run, I'm running beside her and I look over and I see that terror face. And I was like, oh, so I just kind of peeled off and like started running back the other direction. My brother, meanwhile, is rolling on the ground. He thinks this the funniest thing he's ever seen.
You scared that poor girl.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You chased her.
Yeah, I did. I did do that. I did, and definitely, I did scare her and then chase her down.
Oh my God.
I saw. Yeah, she would like. The funny thing is, I've had more than one people. My brother's been there when like we were at Disneyland, and there was this little girl, like this. I was like 19 at the time, and we were talking to this like 15-year-old like black girl, and from like Britain, and she was asking me a bunch of questions about being albino. But she didn't want to get close to me.
Oh.
And so we got on the bus, and then we were on the bus, and we had been talking for like 45 minutes. We're on the bus going back to our hotel. And my brother, again, is sitting in a chair, and she asked me a question, and I didn't hear her, so I leaned in to like, I was like, what? And she started screaming. Like, I mean, like, screaming. And again, my brother fell out on the floor and started laughing. He was like, God damn. Yeah, and that's happened. Shit like that happens all the time.
To me, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
Is that someone can be talking to you and recognize that you're a human being and still be afraid of you? Like,
Oh
you're
man.
not a scary, you don't have a scary vibe at all.
You'd be like the amount of like just at Disneyland yesterday, the amount of looks that I got is ridiculous. Kids will run into things because they're looking at me so hard.
Really?
Yeah. That it like it happens a lot. Like it happens. It happened. I got to the point where people like said something, stopped what they were doing, or got their friends to look. That happened at least 12 times yesterday, just at Disneyland.
Do you know
That I noticed though?
Did you grow up? Does anyone else in your family have albinism, or do you know anyone that does?
Well, my brother is an albino, but he's a different kind of albino, so he's got more pigment. He looks more black. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like, yeah.
okay. Does he have? So he's not as striking in terms of like you might not notice right away.
You'll notice. You'll be like, oh, you'll be like, oh, it's a light skinned nigga. You know what I mean? Like he looks more like he looks more light skinned, but he's still got the eyes twitch.
Okay.
And he's still got bad vision, but it's not as bad as mine because he has more pigment. But I'm adopted, so
interesting.
But I'm adopted. I was actually adopted by a white family.
Wait, is your brother your biological?
No, he's not my biological. He was actually also adopted by that same family after his family situation became messed up. We met at school. We didn't like we hated each other when we first met, but we met at like 8, and then he used to just come to my house every weekend.
Are you guys the same age?
No, he's 42.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just met and we look so much alike. Aside from the albino thing, that people used to be like, "You guys are brothers," and we'd be like, "No, we're not." And they'd be like, "Yeah, you are." And we'd be like, "Fine, fuck it, we are."
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So he just kind of became part of the family, and then when we moved to Washington, he would come out all the time to visit me, and I would go all the time to visit him until his mom passed. And
then he became your full-time brother?
I mean, he's always been my full-time brother since we were like 8.
That's really sweet.
Yeah. He's a dick sometimes.
I mean,
you know,
all brothers are, right?
Hey,
that's kind of that's kind of the family thing.
That's kind of what it is, though.
So he's the only other person that kind of was even like when you were a kid, who explained to you? Like, did you feel you were different because other kids treated you different?
Well, the thing about this is when I was in Florida, I was going to a school called FSDB, which is Florida School for Deaf and Blind.
Oh.
And there's a lot of albinos.
So you grew up and you're like, oh, this is a thing. The people are like this.
Well, I didn't start going to that school. I was born in Compton, actually, and I was adopted at birth. So I grew up like 5 years in California, and then I don't remember any of that. And then moved to Florida, and then grew up most of my adolescence there. But I was always around everybody. Like I was never in just a white neighborhood or just you know what I mean? Like I was in a black neighborhood. I was in the hood. Mm-hmm. And everybody and people in the South just know what albinos are. So I got fucked with, but
people weren't scared of you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they were, but it was never like, it was a really weird thing. Like I've always been a very analytical kid.
Yeah.
So people would not like me. And I think that's one of the reasons that I'm not like, I can compartmentalize now so well because everybody hated me. So it wasn't just like, oh, I was getting hate from white people or getting hate from black people or getting hate from, this type of person. I was getting hate for everybody. So I just was like, oh, sometimes people are shitty. You know what I mean? Like I never
you never were like, it's about
I never got specific. And I recognize when people are like, shitty because I'm albino or something like that, but I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, you can't change it and it's not your fault. It's stupid.
Exactly.
It's not, it has nothing to do with you really. Like it's nothing that you did to make them upset.
Yeah, exactly. And like grade school, I mean like middle school, I mean I got jumped by the entire 8th grade. I got, I'd have the people would like they would I didn't have any friends like 7th, 8th, 9th grade. I didn't have any friends, and the friends that I did have would disappear because people wouldn't like mess with me one-on-one. It was groups. It was like 20, 30, 40 people.
Why?
Because
were they afraid of you?
Yes, I think they were afraid of me. I was also in a small town. There wasn't a lot of black people there, and there was no albinos. So I mean, the teachers didn't want me in their class.
Did they think you were like sick or something?
I don't know what. I mean, they wouldn't. I mean, I don't know. They thought I was evil, or they didn't want to touch me. Girls didn't want to be anywhere near me. Teachers would kick me out of class. I had one teacher call me a halfling. Get this, half a nigger out my class. Like just like messed up stuff. But I would never back down, and so. Because I was from Florida, so I was just used to fighting. Oh, if we gonna battle, let's battle then. So, and if you stand up, the bigger the group, the more I would stand up, because I would be like, all right, fine, it's all of y'all. You know what I mean? Like the whole 8th grade track team, there was a fight. A dude pushed me, so I swung on him. I hit him, and then he hit me back, and so I hit him again. And we start rumbling, and then they break it up, and nobody's on my side. Everybody's just like, it's like 20 people on the track team in the locker room, all right in front of me, like, we're going to kick your ass. And I'm like, then do something. Jump. Why don't y'all jump? You got 20 people behind you. How are you still afraid? What do you think, I have superpowers? I don't, bro. I'll close my eyes. What's up? You know what I mean? I'm just going off, tagging them. I'm like, how are you this big of a pussy? Like, and they won't do anything. They won't do anything. So it kind of dies down. I go to the bathroom. I'm walking back, and this dude named Jeremy is like 6'6" in 8th grade.
Jesus.
Yeah, he's a big dude. And I'm like, I mumbled to myself, bitch. And he's like, why don't you come say that to my face? So I walked up to him, looked him in the eyes, was like, bitch. And he just had this stunned look on his face, like, that wasn't supposed to happen. And after that day, like later that day after track practice, Jeremy ended up hitting a dude named Corey for sticking up for me.
Oh.
And then we all got called into the office the next day, and everyone blamed me, including the principal, the teachers. Everyone was like, Nathan, what did you do to have the, you know what I mean? And I would just go off. It was like, man, fuck yeah. Like I would go off, but like a nigga from the block, and they didn't know how to deal. They didn't know how to combat that. So,
see, but you grew up with a white family?
Yeah, but in the hood. But my dad, but like, not in the hood the whole time, but at the same time, like, my mom's a therapist.
Okay.
And my dad committed suicide when I was 6 because of heroin and coke. So I still knew, like, you know what I mean? Like, so I knew that struggle. So,
I mean, because, like, I think you come from this really interesting intersection of, like, you're adopted by white people, but then you still you're still black, but you're albino. You know what I mean? So, like, kind of like figuring out where you fit in is just like,
I didn't even fit in with albinos.
Yeah.
Because I was adopted. So like, it was like, I was a black, I tell people sometimes I'm a black albino, adopted by a white family and then raised in the South in the ghetto. You know what I mean? Like,
it's just like, you can't fit into any one box easily.
And since I could never fit into one box, I just had to get really comfortable with myself. And that took about 35 years.
You're crushing it.
Well, you know. But it wasn't good with the ladies to start.
No, it's tough because it's hard to be so separate or feel separate and also like find a person, you know, it's hard to feel kind of like isolated. And I find that too is like I never feel like I fit in one place. Mm-hmm. Like, am I an artist? Am I this? Am I that? I believe, you know, like I have all these experience from all these different places. And so I don't fit easily into this thing or that thing. And so it's hard to find a partner when you don't have like a group. Yeah,
that's exactly, me and the homie talk about that like on daily, because I think there's a lot of people, and I'm not trying to prejudge anybody, but I think there's a lot of people who especially adults, when you get to a certain point, you try and put yourself into a group because it's much more comfortable. It's
more comfortable to be a part of a group. And it's also, I think something happens too when people get to a certain age where they no longer want to have their mind open to change.
God, it's horrible.
So like, they're just like, oh no, I just believe this forever now. And I'm with these people and they believe the same thing. And we all just believe this thing and that's fine. Whether it's like a religion, whether it's a band you like, whatever, like people have this thing and they need to stick together about it and they need to create a tribe. And if you're a kind of person that is constantly challenging yourself and you never feel like you fit in any place anyway, like why not learn all the things and form your own opinions?
Exactly.
But then it's like, well, how do I find a partner that also will let me continue to form my own opinions, and they will have their own opinions, and sometimes those opinions could intersect enough for us to build a life together.
Exactly.
Like that's really
hard.
difficult.
Yeah. Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard. Like it's like, okay, whose crazy links up with my crazy? All right.
But like in a way that'll like make me better crazy.
Yeah.
But like still crazy.
How do you do that? Like, how do you like, yeah, it's a because I think that like I talk about it all the time. I don't get mad at anybody over 60 that's racist.
Over what?
Over 60 that's racist.
Oh, okay.
I got no problem with it. That's just a dude that's like, look, bruh, I've been here for 60 years. I'm not changing anymore. All right. I don't want to change anymore. So I avoid, like, if you're 20, you're kind of a dick. But if you're 60, look, that's just how I talked for 60 years. And now you're asking me to change. I don't remember my children, okay? Like, I'm not going to remember all the things I'm not supposed to say now. Stop it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, so I'm like, all right, cool. Be you, dog.
I guess.
I understand where people come from, but I also think that people are too quick to judge. People hear one tweet and they're like, "Oh, that person, their whole life is about that one tweet." I'm like, dude, that's a leap, bro. That's a leap.
I feel that way too. I think that forgiveness is something
so important.
Because here's the thing, like because of Twitter and Facebook and all these things, you can read that forever.
Yeah.
But it's like people aren't. It almost becomes like Facebook is a hill you have to die on. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
Like people change their minds. Why can't we have a discussion and someone be like, oh, you know what? You've made some great points. Like when I was 14 or 15, I grew up in a Catholic household. People taught me that it was wrong to be gay. And I decided for my research paper for class that I was going to write my 10-page essay on why gay marriage wasn't okay. So I did all this research, I read all these books, and then I changed my fucking mind.
Exactly.
Because I was like, oh, wait, that's a dumb thing, and nothing supports that idea, and everyone has a right to love and be loved.
There you go.
So, like, why can't people say something dumb, whether it's a joke, whether it's whatever, and then have people be like, hey, let's talk about this, without necessarily being like, I'm mad at you, or you're the worst person in the whole world or whatever. And people be like, hey, this isn't a cool thing to say. And this is why, and this is what that means. And I don't think you're a bad person, but I want you to understand that what you're saying is hurtful to others.
I wish I think part of the reason is because people, especially adults, do not like to be wrong.
But statistically, everyone is wrong sometimes. We're all wrong sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
And
absolutely.
you have to, but the thing is, too, is like you're persecuted so hard for being wrong that you become like, oh, well, I have to fight. Like, I'm not wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
If I'm wrong, I'm bad. Whereas
because that's what people tell you now. It's like, okay, we're going to have an argument, but if you don't agree that I'm right before we start the argument, then not only are you wrong, you're evil.
And bad. And you deserve to die being scorched. Exactly. And it's just like, why?
And I'm like, well, okay, if you're trying to convince somebody that to think in a different way, that's probably not a good way to go about it.
Right.
They're just going to go back to the people that they're like, if you call a person, like, let's say somebody who's grown up and he's Catholic and he's been Catholic for his entire life. And if you start your conversation by you're stupid
idiot.
because you're Catholic, you're not only calling him stupid, you're calling his parents stupid.
Well, and his whole belief system.
It's not about, you're calling everyone who believes that stupid and you don't know any of them. So who's he going to believe? You, who's calling him stupid, who he just might have met, or his parents, who he's known for his entire life.
Right.
And he's going to go back to his parents, and his parents are going to just reaffirm that person's stupid.
Right.
And so now you've just grown farther apart of the person that you were trying to bring closer together. And it's just,
I found it always works so much better because of what I look like. I have almost the opposite problem where everyone kind of assumes that I agree with them at all times. So people look at my face and they're like, Andrea's on my side. And no matter what they say. So like I've gotten in some really beautiful discussions with people because people might believe in something I don't. People might believe in a religion I don't believe, or they might believe in this or that, or they might say something kind of racist to me because they're like, Andrea's white.
Yeah.
She'll go along with this. And
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, actually, let's talk about that a second, you know? And so it's like you kind of, I almost become privy to everyone kind of just assuming that we're on the same page and treating me like we are. And then because they're already treating me like we're the same, I can have a discussion with them that's like respectful but disagreeing.
Yeah.
And that I found changes minds so
much
more effectively than yelling.
Oh my God.
I don't.
So much. I mean, like, just to let you know though, that actually happens to black people all the time.
What do you mean?
Like black people have Al knows this. This happens to Hispanics as well, where like you'll just be like black people. If I'm on the bus and a black dude's on the bus and he just like, man, these motherfucking white people out here are taking over, man. All these white people are crazy. Ain't that right, my brother? Don't look at me, fam. I didn't have nothing. That happens all the time. And if you don't, as a black dude, agree with it, you're an Uncle Tom or you're a coon. Black people call each other coon way more than white people. Like,
interesting.
Yeah, it's bad. It gets bad. If you don't go along with everything, you're an Uncle Tom, you're a coon, you're not a real black. I get told that I'm not really black all the time. By black people. All the time.
You can't just be like, hey guys, I think that this world's a pretty complicated place.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I think there's a lot of gray areas.
If you don't say that you hate all police officers all the time, you basically said, I voted for Trump 37 times. That's what you said. Like, it's insane how one-sided people can be. And I don't think that being one-sided is ever a good thing.
Well, I think all it does is create more division.
Yeah, of course it does.
Whereas, like, you have to acknowledge, I think the biggest problem right now that we're having as people is not acknowledging that people that disagree with us are also people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's really kind of bad.
It's like, I don't understand. Like, you realize that people who disagree with you also think they're right. So you have to understand why they think that before you can tell them that they're wrong. Because telling them that they're wrong is not going to do anything.
Right. You can't. They're like, prove it.
Yeah.
How are you proving this? 0%.
I've said it from the day one. Somebody has to take the L. Nobody's willing to take the L no more.
Yeah, that's true.
Nobody wants to take the L. We have Martin Luther King was one of my favorite people in the world because he understood that somebody has to take the L. He was like, okay, we're going to go protest. But you know what? We're going to dress in suits and we're not going to fight back. Wait a minute, we're not going to fight back? Yeah, they're going to throw bricks and shit at us and we're not going to fight. Don't you swing once. Why the hell are we going to do that? Because people need to see that it's one-sided. People need to see them, because if we fight back, then people who don't know the situation are just going to be like, oh, those black guys are fighting those white guys. It's obviously the black guys because we're white.
Right.
And we don't do that. So they must not do that. But if they see just a bunch of white people attacking black people, then they're going to be like, wait, that's kind of fucked up. And that's what happened. That's where the change came. Somebody had to take the L. Somebody had to take a brick to the face. But now, nobody wants to take a brick to the face. And don't get me wrong, I'm not taking the L. Like, Game of Thrones is coming back next year. I'm not about to take the L, but somebody has to take the L, and nobody wants to take the L anymore. They just want to say, all right, you're wrong, just admit that I'm wrong. I don't want to fix the problem. I just want you to admit that I'm right.
Well, it's almost like people would rather be right than make the world a better place.
Hell yeah. Do you know how good being right feels? It is a fantastic feeling.
Obviously, Nate, because I'm like right all the time.
You got that head bob in you, don't you? Yeah, okay, I'm messing with it. I got you, yeah. I'm wrong a lot.
I'm wrong a lot, too. And it's like, I'm happy to be wrong if someone can explain to me why I'm wrong. You know what I mean?
Oh, hell yeah.
Like, if you can explain it to me and we can talk about it, I'll listen to what you have to say. Let's see what's up.
I love arguing.
But please don't just yell at me. Please don't stand and yell at me from a room.
If you yell at me, it's gonna be bad for you because this has happened since I was like a child. And my mom knew this, and she didn't tell me this till I was 18. When you know how when you get aggravated or you get intense or you get into a stressful situation, your blood pressure goes up.
Yeah.
Mine goes down.
Oh, will you pass out?
No, mine just goes, I get more relaxed. If I get in an argument, I start getting happier. I start getting calmer. I go on roller coasters to relax.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can fall asleep. I love it.
It lowers your blood pressure. It relaxes you.
Yeah, it really does.
Why is that?
I have because I'm a sociopath, I think. I don't know.
No, I mean, do you think that might be linked to being albino?
No, it's not. No, because I know other albinos are like, that's not, we don't have that, fam.
Okay.
Like, so yeah, but my mom told me about that, and it's something, I think there's something to have to do with, it's just a blood disorder or a blood thing, and I don't get sick very often, but when I do, it's bad.
Okay.
But I mean, like, I get sick every like 10 years.
That's so fascinating to me.
Yeah, no, it's not good.
You're like kind of like those fainting goats where like they're...
I'm 100% like the fainting goat.
You just like relax. You're like, oh, this is okay.
Yeah.
I can see you like you date someone, you get in like an argument, and you just like fall asleep during the argument.
It feels so good.
That's really funny.
I don't get in like I've been in a couple relationships. I very rarely get into screaming matches because I'll just be like, I'll start smiling. And I also have ADD, so I'll forget. I will forget that I'm supposed to be mad all the time. I remember me and this girl, Tiffany, were dating, and we were arguing about something, and I don't even remember what it was, but like I left the room angry, and she was still in the room. And then I went and I made pancakes. And then I came in the room and I was like, hey, babe, look at this pancake. It's like Mickey. And she's just staring at me like, why aren't you? Oh, that's right. We were fighting, weren't we? I'm so sorry. I had totally forgotten that we were fighting because the pancake looked like Mickey Mouse. You know what I mean? Like, so.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Well.
What do you think you say that you want to date people. What do you think like one of your biggest challenges with dating people right now is?
I ain't got no car.
Okay, that's rough.
Oh, yeah, that's rough. Yeah. I'm short in Hollywood.
Okay. How tall are you?
5'8".
That's still pretty tall.
No, it's really not.
Okay.
It's really not. It's really not. Oh God.
I'm so sorry.
It's all me too. Yeah. I think the albino thing has a little bit to do with it, but not from the female's perspective. I know tons of albinos that date. You know what I mean? Like I think it's more me. You know what I mean? Like I don't have a lot of confidence on the physical. Not that I think I'm unattractive. I just don't feel like I'm not walk up to you in Hollywood hot. You know what I mean? Like
that's fair.
You know what I mean?
Fair.
Like I'm not attractive. I'm just not that walk up to you in Hollywood hot.
You know what? I'm gonna level with you though. Is I've had some good looking dudes come up to me, and it still freaks me out to talk to strangers. Like if dudes come up to, I'm still just like, what do you want from me? Go. What do you
want? Are you trying to? You going to steal my car?
Yeah. Like I was walking. I was walking in Hollywood, and I was like leaving the Comedy Store late at night, and I was texting, and there were a bunch of people. It wasn't just dudes. It was dudes and some ladies like outside a bar, and I accidentally passed my car, and this dude was like, "Hey, girl, hey!" He's like hollering at me a little. He's like, "Hey, where are you going? What are you up to?" And I was just like, I just ignored him because I'm like, I don't fucking know you.
Yeah.
And then I realized I had walked past my car, and I had to walk past them again. So I was like, fuck. So I like turned around and I walked past him again. He's like, hey, we should hang out sometime. I'm like, I don't know you. We're not friends. He's like, but we could be. And I was like, or not. And I just left.
That's such a
and
great.
he was a good looking dude, but I was just like, it just weirded me out. Like I was like, why are you yelling at women on the street? This is weird. I don't like this.
Because you have to.
Is that what you have to do?
If we don't talk to women, we don't get women. Like that's just how. Unfortunately, that's just how it is for guys.
I just find it to be too much sometimes, and I'm tired.
Oh no,
I want to lay down.
I feel sorry for women for the amount of just penises that have just been thrust at you. Just so many.
That's not a metaphor.
I'm not using that as a metaphor. I mean, just at the club and y'all will be dancing and then there's a penis on your back. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's so much.
It's so much. I feel sorry for you. But at the same time, like, dudes, the dudes who get the most are the ones that they play the numbers game. Ask everyone.
Ramon Rivas was on this podcast and he said he scores like Iverson because he just keeps putting shots up.
You gotta keep putting shots up.
That's it. And I was like, oh, that's such a good line. Like, it's so beautiful.
It's so true. You gotta, I know some homely looking dudes, because women don't care about the physical nearly as much as men
We
do.
really want to be taken care of emotionally. We want to have companionship. We want to be cared about. Like that's such a big part of love for women.
Absolutely. And the only reason men care about the physical is because we have male friends. Men stop really caring about the physical once they hit about 30, 31.
Oh, you think it's a competition, it's a trophy
It's
syndrome.
100% a competition and a trophy. Men only tell their friends about the hot girls they've had sex with.
Oh.
Like we don't tell them about Bertha at the end of the bar with one foot.
What if you fall in love with a Bertha though? What if it's like, I love Bertha's personality. I love hanging out with Bertha. I want to hang out with Bertha all day.
Happens all the time. Happens all the time. The best sex that most, and I'll say this for most men, the best sex they had was not with the hottest chick.
Well, yeah.
That's just,
that makes sense.
But that's not.
But they don't want to date that person?
A lot of times they do want to date that person. They just don't want their friends to know they dated that person.
That's horrible.
It's but we're judged by who we date.
Why?
Because but not just by men, but by women too. If women see another, if I'm out with my girl and another woman sees me, like women want men who are taken. The reason I think the women like men who are taken is because it shows that you have something to offer.
Interesting.
So if the woman that wants your man is hotter than the woman that you're with, she feels like it's easier for her to get that. And the man is probably going to believe that too.
Mm.
Now, once you get to a certain age, it's just like, I don't care. Let's just smash our dirty bits together. It doesn't, you know what I mean? It becomes like, I'm not telling.
We all look like potatoes eventually. So it's like,
really
do I want to spend the rest of my life with a potato that's kind of a bitch? Or do I want to spend the rest of my life with a potato I really like to hang out with?
It really comes down. Because like, I'm not going, because after 30, we're not doing 4-hour sex sessions. So it's like, look, I'm going to talk.
Were you doing 4-hour sex sessions before?
I like sex.
I just need a break. Like,
No,
I have things to do.
There were breaks in, but there were breaks in. But I'm talking about like when you're 19, all night. Look, I was albino. I had to get as much as possible, as quick as possible, because I didn't know when it was going to happen again. So I would just.
You're like a sex camel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna wrap this podcast up. Nate, when you feel yourself, you haven't been in love before. The question I usually ask is like, when you feel yourself starting to fall in love, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of about falling in love? Is there something about it that scares you?
Yeah.
What is it?
I'm afraid of somebody falling in love with me.
Why?
Because that means that because I don't always like myself. And if somebody else likes me now, that means that I have to live up to their idea of me. It's terrifying.
That's a burden.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
But I think the best part of love is when someone recognizes that you're also fallible.
Yeah, but I don't think that anybody's ever been in love with me. So anytime, and it doesn't happen often, but anytime it gets it's like somebody starts to like me, I'll run. Unless they chase. But nobody's chased me so far. So far so good.
It's really scary.
It's scary.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
What could you do in your life to correct that, or have you tried to like?
I'm trying to correct it. I am trying to correct it by not being such a little bitch. You know what I mean? Like, that's really all I got to do. Just don't be a little pussy. Nathan.
It's
Come
hard,
on.
man.
It's hard, especially going this long.
It's such your instinct.
Yeah, it's been a long time, like a long time.
Nate, I love you so much.
Oh man, you awesome.
You want to tell people where they can find you online and stuff?
Yeah, you can find me on I guess Instagram at the Hurd, TheHurd, and Snapchat at the Albino Hurd. Don't judge me. That's about it. I don't really do nothing else. Facebook, Nathan Hurd, I guess.
Do you have any shows? Well, this will come out in like a month. But
okay.
Do you post your shows on there?
Yeah, I post my shows on there, where I'm going to be at and stuff like that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely.
Hey guys, if you like this podcast, you should rate and subscribe and review us on iTunes. As soon as we get to 50 reviews, I'm going to randomly select someone that's reviewed the podcast, and they will get a portrait drawn of them in the same style that I draw the guests every week. And thank you so much for listening. If you like this podcast, follow us at Andrea Loves Everybody on Instagram, at Andrea Loves Pod on Twitter. If you want to send us an idea, email us at andrealoveseverybody@gmail.com. And if you want to know where I'm doing stand-up or shows or cool other stuff I'm doing, follow me at Sundress Comic on Instagram or Twitter. And I love you guys. Bye.